Welcome to Seeds of Thought. Today, I want to discuss the mental law that decides your entire life. Let me tell you something that could change your life forever. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. That is not motivation. That is not positive thinking. That is not a cute phrase. That is a law that has been operating your life whether you knew it or not. And once you understand it, once you learn how to use it deliberately, your life stops feeling random and starts responding to you. Most people believe their life is shaped by circumstances, by the economy, by their past, by their background, by other people. But that's not what's actually happening. Your life is being shaped by a picture running quietly inside your mind. And that picture, whether you chose it or inherited it, is issuing instructions to your behavior, your emotions, your decisions, and eventually, your results. You don't get what you want in life, you get what you expect. Here's the painful truth most people never hear. You are not stuck because you lack discipline. You are not stuck because you're lazy. You are not stuck because you missed your chance. You are stuck because you keep replaying the same internal movie, and your life keeps obeying it. Your mind is not a suggestion box. It is a command center. Whatever you repeatedly show it, especially with emotion, it accepts as truth. And once it accepts something as truth, it organizes your behavior to match it. That's why people work hard, but stay in the same place. That's why people want success, but unconsciously expect struggle. That's why people say they want change, but keep returning to the same patterns, because the image never changed. Let me make this simple. Your mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. That's not philosophy. That's biology. Your heart races during a bad dream. Your body reacts to fear that hasn't happened. Your emotions shift when you replay an old failure. Nothing is happening physically, yet your body responds as if it is. That tells you everything you need to know. You've been visualizing your entire life. You just haven't been doing it on purpose. Every worry is visualization. Every fear is visualization. Every replay of embarrassment, rejection, or failure is visualization. And if you keep rehearsing the same image, your nervous system says, this is familiar, this is normal, this is who we are, and your life follows. That's why effort alone doesn't work. Because effort cannot override identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your self-image. Think about this. You can force yourself to act differently for a while. You can push, you can grind, you can hype yourself up. But under pressure, you always return to who you believe you are. That's why people self-sabotage right before breakthroughs. Not because they don't want success, but because success threatens an old identity, and the subconscious will protect familiarity even when familiarity hurts. So the real work is not trying harder. The real work is installing a new picture, because once the picture changes, behavior follows. Not by force, by alignment. Now let me clear something up. Visualization is not fantasy. Visualization is rehearsal. And rehearsal is how the mind learns what to expect. Athletes rehearse plays before the game. Pilots rehearse emergencies before flying. Speakers rehearse speeches before stepping on stage. Why? Because under pressure, you don't rise to inspiration. You fall back on training. Mental rehearsal works the same way. When you repeatedly visualize yourself, staying calm under pressure, speaking with certainty, following through, adapting instead of collapsing, you are not wishing. You are training. You are teaching your nervous system, this is survivable, this is normal, this is me. So when the moment arrives in real life, your body doesn't panic. It recognizes the situation and responds. But here's where most people get it wrong. They visualize outcomes without installing emotion. They see success, but they don't feel it. And without emotion, the subconscious does not respond. Emotion is the language of the subconscious, not logic, not words, emotion. You don't change your life because something makes sense. You change because something moves you. That's why trauma leaves marks for years. That's why emotionally intense moments reshape identity. Visualization uses the same mechanism, consciously. When you emotionally connect to a future version of yourself, you stop chasing results. The results start pulling you. And this is important. You don't need excitement, you need ownership. That calm certainty that says, this is already mine. That feeling installs identity. Now here's the part that separates people who change from people who stay inspired but stuck. Repetition. Repetition is the mother of belief. One visualization session does nothing. 10 help. 100 reprogram. Not because the image changes, but because you do. The subconscious accepts whatever you feed it consistently. So if you keep feeding it struggle, it will find ways to recreate struggle. If you keep feeding it strength, it will organize behavior around strength. This is why motivation fails. Motivation is reactive, it comes and goes, but repetition installs defaults, and defaults decide your life. Let me say this clearly. You don't need more motivation, you need more conditioning. You don't wait to feel confident, you train confidence. You don't wait for courage, you rehearse courage. You don't wait for readiness, you decide. Because readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision, and waiting to feel ready is one of the most socially acceptable ways to stay stuck. Confidence comes after action. Clarity comes during movement. You don't think your way into a new life, you move your way into it. But here's the key. You move from the image, not toward it. You act as the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. That's living from the end. Now understand this. Your outer world is a mirror. It reflects the dominant picture inside your head. You cannot rehearse fear and expect confidence. You cannot rehearse limitation and expect expansion. You cannot obsess over problems and expect prosperity. Your results are not lying to you. They are echoing your inner image. Change the picture, and the reflection must change. Not instantly, but inevitably, because mirrors always lag. The image comes first. This is where most people quit. They change internally but keep checking externally. They say, nothing's happening, but the system is working. They're just watching the wrong place. Stop watching the mirror. Work on the source. Let me talk about courage. Courage does not appear on the battlefield. It is built in the mind when no one is watching. Courage is not loud. Sometimes it's a whisper that says, keep going, but that whisper grows louder the more you rehearse it. Fear does not disappear. It loses authority. Fear controls people who don't know who they are becoming. Once identity solidifies, fear becomes information, not instruction. And eventually, something shifts. Quietly. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop asking, should I? You simply do. Not because you're motivated, because it aligns. This is when discipline dissolves into identity. This is when effort lightens. This is when momentum becomes steady, not frantic, not forced, sustainable. And now you understand something critical. Burnout comes from force. Momentum comes from alignment. When who you are, what you see, and how you act point in the same direction, energy multiplies. At some point, you reach a moment of no return, not because everything worked out, but because you changed. Your standards rise, your tolerance drops, your certainty increases. You don't explain yourself anymore. You move, and life responds, not because life is magical, because clarity is magnetic. The world bends toward decided minds. So let me leave you with this. You were never meant to live by default. You were meant to live by design, and design begins with a picture. The only question left is this: what are you seeing every day? Because whatever you see, whatever you feel, whatever you repeat, that is the life you will hold. And now you know how to choose it.